Hello, my name is Susan, and we're here for another episode of Crafting at Home with Aaron Public Library. Today we're going to be starting our 4th of July decorations a little bit early so we all have time to enjoy them. So we're going to be making firecracker jars. So this is what our model is, and we're going to make one exactly like this so you can see how I did it. And then I'm going to make a slightly different one to create a display of 3 jars. The only tool I need today is a pair of scissors, but we have quite a few supplies. I have 2 pieces of cardstock that are already cut to go on the jars I have selected. I have 3 foam wands that I got at Dollar Tree. I have a small piece of styrofoam that already has 3 holes in it. I put the holes in there. Double-sided tape, 2 yards of twine, 1 yard of red ribbon. This is a balloon weight, a patriotic balloon weight. I have a 3-inch clay pot, and I have 2 vases also from Dollar Tree, one shorter than the other. This one I know has a decoration on the front, not going to be a problem, and I'll show you how I'm going to take care of that. And we also have a bag of paper shreds. So the first thing I want to do is show you how I created the model, the first one that you saw. So I'm going to take this taller vase, and I have this piece of patriotic cardstock. Now, all I'm going to do is put this around the jar, and that will take care of that design that's on the front. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I did not give you the dimensions because the dimensions depend upon the jar that you use. So I just cut this so it would be about 1/4 inch lower than the top of the vase, or it would give you 1/4 inch at the bottom, whichever way you want to do it. And now I am going to take my double-sided tape, and I am going to put a 3-inch strip across the top and across the bottom. And I want to get as close to that edge as I can. So now I'm going to put a piece of the double-sided tape all the way along that edge. And then I'm going to put a similar one on the other side. So I'm ready. I have my tape on the other side. If you've picked a pattern that has a definite up and down or a design, something you want to read, you want to make sure you're going in the right direction. And before I show you how I did this, I do want to warn you that I know these jars look like they're straight and they look like they're even, but very often you find out there are bumps that you don't see. So the easiest way to do this is to take the paper and let it sit on your work surface like this. Pull this side around and tape it down because you have that double-sided tape already on there. And you'll notice this isn't laying perfectly flat because the jar itself is not perfectly flat, but that's okay. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it around. And I'm just going to press that seal. And the good news about using double-sided tape is if you want to take this off and you want to use it later for a different season, a different holiday, you can get it off and it doesn't wreck the jar. So I have my paper on my jar. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this balloon weight, also a patriotic item, and if I put it in here, I lose that firecracker effect because it sinks too low. So I'm going to take this 3-inch clay pot and I'm just going to put this in the bottom of here to give me that extra height, and I'm going to put the balloon weight on top of it, and that gives me my weight. I'm going to make sure, I don't want you to see that foil paper, so I'm going to push that down. And then I am going to use paper shreds to hold it in place. And this nice red and gold, the red and gold paper shreds are from Dollar Tree also. And I kind of like that sloppy look, so I'm happy with that. Does kind of depend, I suppose, where you're going to put it. If it's someplace where there's a breeze, that might not work so well. So I am this far, and of course with these, this is all wire. You can pull it. So the one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a twine bow around it. This is 2 yards of twine. I'm just going to take it and fold it in half. Now I'm not going to I'm not going to tie it down. So I'm just going to go around twice. I'm going to tie a bow. Don't want to get it caught in the paper shreds. You do have the ability to move it around after you have it done. So that's nice once you decide which is your front. I have my seam on the back. I'm going to pull the bow around to the front. So I have my second firecracker jar done. So now I want to create a slightly different one that will sit in the middle. So I have a much shorter jar, also from Dollar Tree, and I am going to begin by putting a paper cuff around this jar, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put about 2 to 3 inches along the top. And down the edge a little bit more. Normally, double-sided tape is not very forgiving, but when you attach it to a glass jar, you do have the ability to take it off and reposition it without wrecking whatever it is you're working with, which doesn't always happen. And again, you want to check and make sure that if your paper has a definite pattern, you're going in the right direction. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to let the table work for me, or your work surface. So I'm going to put that down there, and I'm going to pull this around and flatten it. And then I'm going to pull this around. Whoops. And I am going to flatten it. Now this time I'm not going to use a paperweight. I am going to use the Patriotic foam wands. Now these were very much taller, and I trimmed them down because I want this to sit in between the 2 taller ones. I don't want it to be as tall. So I trimmed these down to a shorter height. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this piece of styrofoam that has 3 holes already in it, and I'm going to put this in the bottom of the jar to hold those foam wands where I want them to be. I'm just going to put a couple pieces of double-sided tape on here. Now you could just have easily used a hot glue gun. The only reason I'm doing this is because the foam wands are going to be kind of wobbly until I can get the paper shreds in there. So I'm going to put this down, and it isn't the exact size of the jar. It's a little bit smaller. So you do want to make sure it's centered so that it does some of the work for you. So what I'm going to do now, I want to get my paper ready because I'm going to have to grab it. I am going to put my foam wands in, and I'm going to tell you that they look pretty wobbly, but it will get better once we get those paper shreds in there. Now this jar is going to use up a lot more paper shreds than the two taller ones did, because the two taller ones had that foil liner that kind of created a base for the paper. So I'm just going to take this and I am going to start putting it in here, which will give some support to the wands. I'm going to turn this a little bit. You do want to make sure that you're putting the paper shreds in going around the jar. You don't want to put them all on one side. Now, if there is a certain position that you want them in and you want them to stay there, you can always use tape on the back side and tape them together. As I said, this is a lot more paper than we put in the first two, and that's okay. Put a little bit more here to hold this one up. Alright, so now I'm going to put a bow on here. Oh, I have to turn it around. I'm going to take these guys and turn them around because I was on the side of the paper, the side of the jar that had the seam. You do have to play with it a little bit. And I'm going to put a red bow on the front. This was 1 yard of red ribbon. And again, I can tie the bow wherever I want and then just move it around. And I'm just going to trim those a little bit. And here's a second way that you can do that. I'm going to put it right in the middle. And you have a nice little 4th of July display, just using a couple of vases, a little bit of paper, and a couple of balloon weights. Enjoy.